this will be fast. This is my roadmap. The work that I do with groups is around the concepts of problem solving, decision making, communication, voice, and choice. Those are the 5 big content pieces that my work is. And this is how I decide whether or not to work with a client. If they don't need one of these, I'm not going to take the work. It's just not, I'm not interested, it's not what I do, it's not my specialty. And after this period of time, I've kind of focused down to what I really like, and there's enough work in that area, I don't have to do everything. This is called Tom's Theory of Some Stuff, the official name for it. The outcomes, what I'm looking for in the work that I work with groups, including this class, one outcome is something called confidence. And confidence is the ability to predict your own success. The second area that I work with is an area called, can everybody see the color red? Anybody cannot? Okay. Anybody not see it? Because I can use a different color. Why, do I ask? You can't see red? Oh, your husband can. So color blindness, reds and yellows? It depends on the person, but okay. Confidence, endurance is a reservoir of energy that I have to keep me present in a process or a goal that's really taking a lot of time and taking a lot of energy. Endurance is my ability emotionally and cognitively to stay. Finally, resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back when your battery got drained. Resilience is the ability to refill your battery. So, together, in the work that we do, we take people on an adventure. The adventure that we take them on involves a component called risk. Risk is the program. It is the program. Everything that I do involves risk. It is the modality that I believe will create. I believe in risk. I believe in high elements. I believe in the leap of faith with trapeze bars. I could care less if you could catch the trapeze bar. I am not attached to you catching the trapeze bar. And I build them, and they're hard to catch. I love it. I watch people miss all the time, and I feel quite pleased and satisfied. Because you know why? I let them jump 3 times instead of 1. I let them try again, and I let them try again. But there's even more to what I do, too. Anytime you give somebody this peak experience and you only let them do it once, wow, what a miss. Let them do it 2 or 3 times and watch what happens. And I would say 3. They might be okay with 2, but I would say 3. So adventure involves risk. And when you truly give a group an adventure with risk, there are 2 potential outcomes. One potential outcome is something called success. And success means that with the task you gave them, and without you helping them, they were able to find the stuff in themselves to complete the task and achieve the goal, their goal. That's success. From success, I used to think that the most important thing was that to help someone's self-esteem, to feel better about themselves. And we all got lost, our culture got lost in the self-esteem movement in the 70s, 80s, and millennials, it's all our fault. It's not your fault. We tried to do something to really make people feel better, and what we did was created a whole generation that now everybody kind of craps on, and I still don't really get why everybody talks about millennials so much. I think you're smart kids. Yes?
Pew says that millennials are those born between 1981 and 1996.
That's about right. Yeah. Self-esteem is a trap. Self-esteem is one of 2 concepts in Bandura's social learning theory of self-concept. Self-esteem means that self-esteem is how I feel about myself based upon how I think you feel about me. Self-esteem is how I feel about myself in relation to everybody else. I no longer am primarily concerned with self-esteem anymore because the other side of Bandura's model talks about something called self-efficacy. And self-efficacy is my experience of myself as a capable person. So for me, the game is self-efficacy. self-efficacy. And if you can increase someone's self-efficacy, their self-esteem will also be affected in a positive way. So what you want from success is to increase someone's self-efficacy. And this happens in an experience when it's successful. The whole purpose of the debrief of an activity, when we throw the ball with the questions and we ask the questions and all that, the outcome you're looking for is for that person. It's as simple as this. You don't need the props. What did you do in that activity? What behaviors, beliefs, choices did you make in that activity that resulted in you achieving your goal or achieving the goal? When we realize that I have the skills, capability, I know the steps, I can plan the process, when I realize that I can do all those things and I consciously know all that stuff, and it created my success, my self-efficacy increases and I become more confident. There is a path to teach confidence. It's by giving people true skills and trials, but it's they who have to be successful, and they have to realize that it was their actions that made the difference. The other side of the equation is failure. Failure is not a bad thing. Yes, Panda?
I just have a question.
Yes.
Do you think when people are talking about empowering participants or empowering people, what they're trying to get at is increasing someone's self-efficacy to build that self-concept? People are talking about empowering on that individual level.
So my whole thing about empowering right now is basically empowering you means for me to get out of the way.
Yeah.
Empowering me is to give you the tools and to back off. Empowering means that you get to make the choices and I'm no longer. So I can't really empower you, but I can certainly self-monitor and start getting myself out of the way. So the paradox of risk, those facilitator biases, are all ways that I've learned how to get out of the way. And if I get out of the way, I empower you. I empower your voice when I shut up. I empower your voice with a sounding in which everybody gets to speak. I empower your voice. But that means others speak less. So empowerment, to me now, has a lot to do with what all the rest of us do to create the space for this person to grow, to exceed, to use their voice, to make choices. So empowerment has a lot for me to get out of your way. Failure, my experience, my background is with children with learning disabilities. And when they fail at an experience or task, their story is that people shame them, humiliate them. What they learn over time is that anytime they fail at something, they won't try it again because they don't want to go through that trauma of being separated out, put on the stage, called out, and shamed about the performance. So they become risk averse. They stop taking risks because they don't want to look bad, and when they identify something they fail at, they don't ever want to try it again. Well, that's not real healthy. Business teams and in some industries, failure is punished big time. So people will try to plan, and then when they eventually fail, they fail really big. But the success in that whole thing is to learn that failure is actually a gift. Have you ever failed at something and learned amazing lessons and felt good at the end? The challenge course is a place where failure is actually one of our best tools because we have an opportunity to try again. And what really makes a failure much easier is when we learn from it. And so in the debriefing, in the process that we talk about, we take a look at failure. Then we talked about success. Now if we talk about failure, focus on the behaviors, not the people. What did your team do? What did you do that didn't turn out so well? Tell me the specific behavior. We all talked at the same time. We didn't make a plan. We made a plan and then we steamrolled it right over our plan. We cut off other people's voices. We got really impatient and rushed through all the steps. So what would you do on the other side? We would slow down. We'll talk and listen. When we make an agreement, we keep the agreement. When we make a mistake, we try to learn from that mistake. So the debrief of failure will actually teach vastly more than the things they succeed at. And when the things they succeed at, there's nothing to learn there. So we either raise the gradient or try something completely different. Because learning on a challenge course is about learning how to overcome your failures. Failure is awesome. which is also why I let people do the leap of faith 3 times, because they're probably going to fail on the first. And then they'll get clear on their goals. Failure can turn into this thing called failing forward. And failing forward essentially says, every failure I have is a chance for me to learn. I no longer need to be afraid of failure. I should embrace it. Not that I'm trying to fail, but that I accept that I will if I'm really on an adventure and really taking a risk. I just might fail. Cool. Now I know something I don't know. Now let's see if I can figure out. The smartest people in the room learn from their failures. They seek the failures. They watch for the failures, and they mine the failures for what doesn't work, and then they translate it in the next try into something that does work. Failure is the goal. But in the end, success is where we want to end up. When we're successful and we learn from our successes, we build confidence and we build endurance. People who are successful build up this thick skin and energy that they can keep going on the next job that's harder. But they know they can, so they have more time and energy that is reserved to keep going with. Failure can build resilience if people learn that just because I failure, I'm not a bad person. There's just something that I need to learn. So if I realize I take on this belief, I become all about, if I fail, I'm going to have a chance to learn something. And not trying to fail, but being open that when I do, I can learn. I become resilient, and at the same time, I build endurance. So there's really nothing, success or failure are both absolutely fine. And in my programs, as I start my program, I start with the challenges down here, and I build them up as we go, and I'm looking for the learning edge of the team. I'm looking for the skills that they don't have. I'm looking for the things they struggle with and fail with. And so each activity becomes a diagnostic for the next activity I'm going to do. And every time, if they're ready, I raise the gradient, raise the gradient. But I only raise the gradient as I believe that they have the skills to do things with. In the end, the thing that makes this whole process of adventure work between success and failure and learning and building my self-efficacy and not is a single concept that I now believe it is the sole essential component that a person needs in order to succeed in the overall experience. And it is called choice.